All right, let's talk about one more method we use to solve quadratic equations. It's a quadratic because it has an x squared. It's an equation because it has an equal sign. Notice how this one looks a little different because there's an x squared term, but there's no term that has an x attached to it. We don't have that. That's a good signal that I want to use the square rooting method, as it's referred to in Eastern Europe, the square rooting method. So the square rooting method, basically you treat it like a normal equation. Treat it like you're just solving for x. So subtract 4 on both sides. I get 3x squared equals 48. Divide by 3, I'm still treating it like normal. And I get x squared equals 16. Now, here's where it gets a little funky. I haven't solved the equation yet because it's x squared. So the question is, well, I want to get it so it's x by itself. Well, how do I do that? Remember that squaring and square rooting, or square rooting, undo each other. So if I square root both sides, my x's alone, and remember the square root of 16, it can be plus or minus 4. 4 would solve this equation. If I plugged in negative 4, it would also solve this equation. The way I remember it is if you're going about an equation, like say you had an equation of 5x squared. Oh, yeah, about that. 5x squared. Oh, about that. Equals, let's say, 45. You're going to treat it like a normal equation. Notice there's an x term, but there's an x squared term, but no x term. Divide both sides by 5. So I end up with x squared equals 9. Follow along and write this down. Now to get the x completely by itself, I gotta square root both sides. When I'm actually making that symbol, I'm saying plus or minus, dum 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 dum, like that, plus or minus. So your answer is going to be x is equal to plus or minus, and what is the square root of 9? The square root of 9 is just 3. So don't forget your plus or minuses when you're using the square rooting method or square rooting method. There you go.